All right, let's talk about the 10 best books that I read in 2021. Now, I read 69 books, not on purpose, just my goal was 52, and I was able to defeat that. That 52 means about one a week, so I was able to get a little bit higher than that. It probably could have been even higher than the 69, but I read some chunkers at the end of the year, so because at that point I've already finished my goal, I can read whatever I want. So these aren't in any order, but I just wanted to talk about it. This year was actually a really good year for sci-fi. I found a lot of good sci-fi reads, only a couple fantasy. Let's look at the genres. One thriller, one fantasy, one sci-fi. That's two sci-fi, three sci-fi, four sci-fi, five sci-fi, four fantasy, two thriller. Okay, that's not too bad. Okay, so let's start. These aren't in any order, but I'm just going to start with Burn In by P.W. Singer and August Cole. This is the story of a tough-as-nails ex-Marine FBI agent, and after stopping a terrorist attack, she basically gets pushed for not a promotion, but sort of a testing program where she gets a robot partner named Tams. It is not a cool robot, though. It's one of those smaller, dinky robots with a weird head. That can help her with her cases and stuff. So they basically just have to hang out, and she's basically going to be testing out this robot partner. And of course, they like to wax rhetoric about all the cool AI things, like the robot's not allowed to have a real gun. You know, they can only have like a plastic rounds or whatever, and the way drones deliver groceries in the future. So this is a sort of sci-fi novel that takes place in the near future. But basically, the two of them go on adventures, but they actually end up having to stop a cyber terrorist who's trying to bring down the end of Washington, D.C., basically. So this one was really great. Probably my favorite read of the year. It's a little bit stiff because it often dives into the sci-fi elements, but it's also like a wicked thriller. You know, it's like a cool buddy cop movie, but what if it was an FBI agent and a robot that's not too strong? You know, will the two of them be able to, you know, defeat a terrorist? Really fun stuff. I really recommend Burn In. All right, the second one is The Sword of Kaigen. Now, I wasn't expecting this one to be that great, but I've heard so many things. I wanted this book so badly that I asked my library to order it, and they did for me, which is really lucky for me because it is a self-published novel by M.L. Wang. So this one tells the story of a young boy living on the tip of an island, and we find out that he lives in a village that's very anachronistic because they wear kimono all the time, and they use swords, but they have really cool powers very similar to the Avatar: The Last Airbender characters. So he's like a control over water, so he's trying to learn his father's amazing techniques of using an ice sword, and his mother is there too. However, he finds himself questioning his government because they have a bit of a propaganda thing going on, and they keep denying that war is coming to their shores, and then when war does come to their shores, it becomes a brutal fight for survival. So this book is equal parts dark fantasy, it is a war book, it is a character study of a mother's love. It's so many rich things. There's a little bit of weird stuff at the end of the book with spin-off potential that they should have left out, but you know, the author wanted to leave it in. But overall, the book is perfect in terms of its character development and action sequences. It's probably one of the deeper, more emotional fantasies. It really made me feel for these characters. When a book does that, you know it's something special. So, The Sword of Kaigen, definitely amazing. All right, the next one is Cordelias Honor. This is by Lois McMaster Bujold. It is the first collection of 2 books of her Vorkosigan saga. So this one is made up of 2 novels. The first one's called Cordelias Honor. The second one's called Barayar. So this one is basically kind of like Star Trek. That's the best way to describe it. It's about Cordelia Naismith. She is a surveyor of planets, and she's a scientist. So her and her ship are basically trying to survey this planet when they get attacked by a Barayaran ship. They're like they're based off Russia, so they're very warlike, about honor. They're not into like handicapped people. They're very stiff and rigid in their ideals of like what it means to be a patriot. So the two of them end up finding themselves in a sort of we have to trust each other, you know, abandoned from their ships sort of survival storyline, enemies to romance trope, enemies to lovers trope, and really great world building for the different planets for starters. It's also a really good sort of sci-fi epic. That's the first half. The second half is Barayar, basically a political thriller with more the characters from the first book sort of on a different planet now, and it's, you know, a really rich. It's slower, but it won the Hugo Award. But it's like more vast in scope and world building and character development. So it's sort of a continuation sequel of the characters from the first book. So Cordelias Honor would be the first of many novels in the Vorkosigan saga, which I have finished. But I only want to leave one book on my top 10 list. I don't want to put 2 or more, because I also like the second book, Two Young Miles. But Cordelias Honor deserves a place on this list. It's the start of something very special. All right, the next one is We Are Satellites. This is, I remember, oh yeah, by Sarah Pinsker. So this is a really interesting book. It's basically a sci-fi drama. It's based off of a same-sex couple. They have 2 adopted children. However, they're in a sort of world where the world is changing because of this new company creating this this new earpiece thing that surgery you put in your head, and allows you to do like extra complicated stuff. And anyone who doesn't follow into this basically gets fallen behind. So the 2 mothers will allow their one son to get it, but it doesn't work well with him. The other girl decides she actually can't get it because she has seizures. So I remember, if one of the mothers does get one though, and the other one promises to not. So 2 of them do, 2 of them don't, and it basically, we get a sort of lapse over time with how the world affects them as a family, but also their individuality, because the young son goes to war and he gets PTSD. The other young girl becomes an activist, and the 2 parents have to sort of deal with the ever-changing landscape. So it's an equal parts sci-fi parable, but it's also really well developed. Sometimes the prose isn't that great for the PTSD chapter, where they try to like do the chapter from the young man's perspective with PTSD, and it doesn't quite work. But everything else is great. It's very emotional. It's harrowing. It's the perfect tone. You know, it almost feels like a really great sci-fi TV show in book form. So really enjoyed We Are Satellites. The Hunt by T.J. Lebin. This is a humans hunting humans for sport in a book, though. So then, you know, that doesn't really mean it's going to be good, but this book thriller was just really, really well done. Really great characters, high contact, thrills throughout. It literally starts off immediately fast and then just keeps going, because he basically gets rescued at the beginning by another person who had their family incinerated by this mysterious group. I forget what they're called, but this group basically kidnaps you, puts you somewhere to be hunted for sport. If you try to get away, they'll kill your family, and then if not, they'll just end up killing you. So he basically gets himself rescued by another woman who had her family killed by the organization, and she wants revenge. She wants her shot at them. So it's a twofold sort of thriller scenario, with him trying to basically find a way to get out of his situation, rescue his family, and her unstoppable quest for revenge. But it's really well written. It's like really great thrills, good characters. Finally get to scratch that itch for that subgenre. So really enjoyable book with The Hunt. The next one is Project Hail Mary. This is done by Andy Weir. I really like The Martian, don't like Artemis. This one probably his best work to date. I really like the science fiction behind this stuff. Really great stuff. The bond between human and alien was really cool too. A really cool friendship. I just couldn't put this book down. It was just really well done. It reminded me of Interstellar a little bit, but honestly, the writing was really great, because the pacing is perfected by not dividing flashbacks with chapters. Instead, they would just jump back whenever they felt like it, and it felt a lot more natural. Also, amazing characters with the main character, but also the one on Earth who's in control of everything. She's just really great, really, really memorable stuff. Project Hail Mary is a triumph for me. One of the best books of the year. All right, the next one is Dark Lullaby, another sci-fi book. This one is about a future where humanity has trouble giving birth. So in order to sort of make up for the fact that women can't give birth, they have this new process that's very dangerous, but if you sign up, you basically get health benefits, better place of living, but more chance of you getting injured. So in the future, women are sort of coerced into trying to give birth with this new drug, like cocktail and things like that. However, one woman discovers a dark conspiracy, because children, when you do give birth to them, they're very strict, and they'll take them away for any specific reason, and a lot of people narc on each other for mysterious reasons. So this one woman has a sister-in-law who has their baby taken, but the baby's given back, and she's trying to figure out this dark conspiracy going on between this society that really wants children and will take yours to make up for it. So it's a really got that really emotional like moment with the mother and daughter aspect, but it's also got the hard sci-fi because it's like Children of Men but a drama. So really well balanced, perfect ending to the ending, kind of like the icing on the cake. It kind of makes it perfect. So this book by Holly Po Yen is really well done. The Coward by Stephen A. Ryan. This is a fantasy novel about a man who's sort of living as a farmer and sort of basking in the glory that he had back in the day when him and 9 others went to go defeat the Ice Lich. However, the cold north is coming again. He is summoned by the king and asked to go up there with a new group of heroes on a quest to see what's going on because he supposedly killed the Ice Lich years ago. So this book is equal parts dark fantasy, but also high fantasy, but also quest. Really fun, memorable characters, as our character doesn't want to do it, but other people are trying to push him into that path. We get some new characters that are really fun and memorable, lots of action. The last third of the book is a little repetitive with the amount of vicious creatures they have to fight on the way, but the ending is very memorable. It sets up a sequel really nicely. This one was just a very simple, fun, well-developed character quest fantasy that I really dug, so that's why I made this list. The 22 Murders of Madison May by Max Berry is the next one on this list. This can be described as a thriller of sorts with a little bit of a sci-fi edge, but not too much. It's more of a... They don't go too hard on the science. It's more of a thriller. But this is about Madison May. She's a young woman who gets violently murdered at the beginning of the story. We cut to a journalist who's investigating why, but it turns out there's someone who's trying to kill Madison May throughout every dimension. So we hop over to another universe where she finds out that there are people out there that can travel between worlds, the multiverse, and someone is after Madison May for some reason, and it's about this journalist who's trying to figure out why and save her. So this one has a really good ending, though. The middle sags a little bit, but it's a really good thriller with really amazing characters. I really enjoyed the sort of concept of the travel hopping, but also the way things suddenly change. There's also really great motivations for different characters too, including the villain. But I think it's the ending that really like sets the mood, and it sort of just smoothly sort of ends things in a very satisfying way. So this is the first book I've read by the author, but I'll check out his other work. But this one was a nice mix of like a little bit of fantasy, a little bit of horror, a little bit of thriller. Perfect mix. All right, the next one is Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. Yeah, I don't think I need to talk about this one too much. Basically, it's like all the payoff that we didn't get in the first book is all here, man. There's like at least 4 to 5 amazing action sequences that are put throughout this book. It just blows you away with its sheer scope, and the crazy amount of stuff happening in this book is just insane. I don't think I'll ever top this, even though he's planning to do 10 books in this series. So yeah, Words of Radiance, just amazing all around. You know why. All right, and the last book on this list is Never Saw Me Coming by Vera Korean. This is a thriller about a group of psychopaths that are secretly going to a school, and they're all part of this program. They don't know who anyone else is, but when one of the psychopaths ends up dead, they're going to have to try to, find a way to trust each other and find out who's in the program and who's not, who's gunning for them, who's not. And one of the characters actually isn't a psychopath. He's only pretending to be one for a free ride. So this one is actually pretty fun because the characters are all morally gray and one of them isn't. And it's almost like Scooby-Doo, but they're all psychopaths. And the ending's a little cliche, but overall it was a fun thriller. I was enamored by all the weird characters and how different they were and how lacking a moral compass. They did a lot of research for the characters for this book. It was very spicy and very fun. Definitely worth checking out. So that's my top 10 books of the year of 2021.